Yeah? Okay. All right, everybody. We're ready for another day on the journey. So excited about today. I've been wanting to do this for a while. It's been a very, very long time since I've actually painted a drapery. So we are being joined today with Tina Figuarelli. And also we have Livia in the background helping us with the switcher. So, appreciate them joining me today. And we appreciate all of you who are with us also. So today's challenge slash journey and fear conquering assignment is we are going to work on creating a cascading drapery. And in the drapery, we're working on a couple of things. We're working on a hierarchy of value so that everything feels dimensional. We are working on how you would paint a more neutral toned drapery. We also have a peach colored drapery up there as well. And at the same time, we're also going to be talking about painting warms and cools within it in order for everything to seem like they sync harmoniously. But I feel like a lot of people are kind of scared to do this challenge. That's why we added it. I've had a couple people in the past tell me that this was something about it seems scary. So we're going to conquer our fears today and try it out. So I think without further ado, we get started.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything we're doing today is vertical. So we changed the format of our vantage points to being more vertical. So we have the shot of the drapery on the far left. We've got our palette in the middle, and we've got the painting on the right, and then we have our faces up in the top right corner. So with our new material, our technology is helping us do all of these things. So I'm really excited about it. It took us a while to figure it out.
But well worth the time.
Well worth the time.
It looks so cool right now.
Yep. And I'm going to just move your angle back here.
Oh, from my panel?
Mm-hmm, for your panel, just a touch. So everyone tell us where, if you're joining us today and where you're joining from. Actually, we're pretty centered. So tell us where you're joining from. Tell us if you're working on a drapery as well. Now the good thing is that these will be up forever. So if today is not your day for doing drapery, you're not feeling up to painting, it will be there for you to join later on.
Yeah. Some days you just don't feel like doing drapery.
Yeah.
And that's totally understandable.
Yeah, exactly.
It is understandable. Quite the challenge.
Yeah. I signed up for this day specifically because I'm like, I'm scared of this. I'm going to sign up for it. And today I'm like, why did I do that?
Yep.
So here we go.
Exactly.
We have a couple people joining in from around the world. We have Mustafa.
Hey,
From
Mustafa.
Egypt.
Mustafa.
We have Jean from Florida. Let's
Hi,
see, someone
Jean.
from France. So happy to catch this. Drapery is such a cool subject. Agreed. I'm excited to watch it happen, not so much to do it. Hi from Australia, from Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
We have Joyce from Las Vegas.
Awesome.
I love that I'm able to recognize some of these names now.
Yeah. By the way, Tina is amazing at names. I wish I had her skill at names. So instead, I just go, what's that girl's name or what's that person's name? She's like, oh, it's Parisa, your wife. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, Parisa.
That woman I love so dearly.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
her name?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many times where I would be in a crowd and a friend goes, oh, did you meet Johnny? I'm like, I don't think I know Johnny. And they're like, Johnny has he does this kind of painting, and they show me something that he did, and I go, oh, Johnny's like one of my best friends. I know Johnny. This has happened on more than one occasion. So never take it as an insult if I can't remember your name. It's just names and dates are so hard for me.
Well, you know how some people have face blindness where they're not able to recognize faces very well? Maybe you have name blindness.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Name blindness.
We have a few more people saying hello. We have Jer from Colombia.
Hello, hello.
Julie, also from France. Someone from Minnesota, I believe.
Oh, awesome.
Sue from Virginia. Jonathan from Maine. And then Mustafa was asking who came up with the East Oaktober.
That was Erica. Erica, we were all trying to come up with a name. And she was like, you know what? We could call it East Oaktober. And we were like, that's it. That's what it's got to be. We thought it was clever. So, Mustafa, I better see you join our Discord and post a picture of your drapery you're painting. So,
Mustafa.
consider it a challenge. So, Mustafa has a heart for teaching. Teaches a lot of people over in Egypt, I believe, and I'm sure across the world as well. So, and he has been one of our longest supporting fans and patrons. And we have always appreciated having him to be a part of our family, even though we've never met in person. And my hope and goal is that one day we get a chance to meet.
That'd be really cool. Either we go to Egypt or he comes here.
Yeah.
East Oaks field trip.
East Oaks field trip to Egypt and France. So yesterday we were talking about France, and now we need to bring in Egypt into that group.
I better get a passport.
Yeah,
I don't have a passport.
better hurry up.
Oh man, what am I doing?
So the great thing about the drapery, I'm not worried too much about getting the perfect scale and proportion of everything, because that's not what the exercise is about for me. The exercise is more about creating a hierarchy of value and color relationship within a neutral. Those are the two things that I'm wanting to accomplish, is a certain level of compression as well, which I think would be really nice. Also, today I'm doing something very unconventional, which is I'm painting over my right arm. Typically, I'm viewing to the object to my left and painting on the left side of my palette. But today, because of how we have things set up, it made more sense for me to be to the right. So looking over my right shoulder is new for me and feels slightly uncomfortable, and that is okay, because that's what East October is all about. Mm-hmm. Okay, I actually do think I'm going to raise it up just a touch.
Chiming in, we have Judith from Virginia, Paula from Maryland, India guy from yesterday. Hello again. So nice to see you.
Hello.
Someone from Indiana. And Mustafa says, I will challenge my lazy belly in paint.
There you
You're
go.
all welcome except for Tina, because he feels jealous of her success lately.
Oh.
Oh my God. Mustafa, I gotta come. You know what?
Friends support friends.
Yeah.
That's right. Friends support friends. That's a good way of
What do you
putting
mean?
it.
I'll give you all the secrets.
One
Yes.
person
Right?
succeeds, we all succeed.
That's part of the motto of East Oaks. We often talk here, or I often iterate here to the point where people could probably do a pretty good impression of me. But we are built on the idea of relationships of grace. We're here to support each other. The most important thing we do is building community that is supportive. Mm. You know, everything else comes secondary to that. The education for everyone is built on that premise, but the education in itself is not the most important thing. It is the support of the community. So, that being said, that's how we roll.
Yeah.
He
That's a
did
very good way.
did send it with hearts and smiley faces,
good.
so I'm sure it was out of love.
It
Oh, yeah.
absolutely is out of love.
I know him well enough to know when he's sassy
Yep.
and joking.
That's his way of saying congratulations
Yeah.
on your success as of late.
Well, thank you, Mustafa.
We had a question about how your palette is connected to your easel. I think maybe for either party.
Probably start with Tina, because I bet you they're talking about yours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my setup, I just have like this metal tripod easel thing, and then I don't know if you can see it in the shot, but I can just like slightly angle my phone. But basically, this top lip of the easel is meant to hold the palette, but since it's a rounded edge, it doesn't actually hold it. So I have this clip that's in place just to stabilize it. But I don't know, it's really worked great for me because I used to use this wooden palette as a handheld one, and ever since I started doing it vertical, it's just been so helpful. It just frees up one hand, which is a big deal. So yeah, that's how I have mine set up. And this is a New Wave. I don't remember which one it is. It's pretty old, but it's one of the New Wave palettes.
I remember New Wave's first year they were in business. I met the brothers at the Portrait Society, and they had just started making their palettes. And we had drinks one night hanging out after the conference day. And they're just incredible guys that are working really hard to make a quality product for artists. And so I'm happy and proud of their success, because they do make a great product.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I think maybe 4 years old now, and like it's strong, like a workhorse. This thing, it just is so sturdy. I've never had any issues with it. It has such a nice patina now at this point. Like you can actually see the real color of the palette beneath it and what I've turned it into with all of my neutral mixtures and stuff over the years. It's perfect, and I'm very attached to it at this point. I hope
bet
it
you are.
never, nothing ever happens to it.
We have Joyce saying hi from Washington State,
Hi, Joyce.
my homeland.
That's right.
Mustafa was asking if you could explain your secret term, bips and bops.
Bips and bops.
What is it? What does it refer to?
That's funny. I don't even remember what I was saying that I was referring it to. Well, I mean, that's just a basic, just funny term that we use to mean almost anything. But it means like this and that would be the probably a better translation of it. But I use a lot of those kind of terms here. I say bits a lot here because I'll say, oh, you need to create some draggy bits over in this area, which is like dragging paint over to over an area that they've already painted and it's dry, so that it creates an interesting texture, and I call it draggy bits. But bits just means basically like things. So if it was more of a translation curiosity, that's what it means. But it's just a funny way and goofy way, because I'm kind of a goofy guy, to say things.
Funny words. That's what I was thinking. They're just funny words.
Just funny
Yeah.
words.
Fun to say. Except
But
for
I wish I remember what I was saying bips and bops too, because maybe I could also help explain that part. But
Yeah, I don't remember. Was it yesterday maybe?
I think I've already said it today.
I feel like you've said it every day.
Have I said bips and bops every day?
I'm
Yeah,
just
that would be
kidding.
wild. But I wouldn't put it past me.
We have a question. Is it a trend to paint monochrome or low-key colors in competitions and tight value range? I think.
I think that really comes down to a lot of people are coming from an academic training, and it's how you learn value control. and so you're not allowed to use color. And then what happens is people get very sensitive to color, and so their paintings become more monochromatic. But usually people who haven't trained have a ton of color, but it's out of control. So, it's one of those things where it's kind of a catch-22 where you have to take what you've learned, but then explore pushing color and pushing what's the new comfort zone for you. So I don't think it's a trend. I just think there's more people taking sort of atelier classes and classical training classes.
So for strategy purposes, it would not necessarily be beneficial to intentionally paint that way if it's not naturally your style?
I think so. I don't think anyone should enter a competition trying to paint a trend, because I think what happens is in fact, Tina and I were talking about this today. What happens is somebody paints something that's original and everybody loves it. So then everyone starts trying to paint like that person, when the reason they got recognized is it was uniquely different than what was being done in the mainstream, but was really something that connected with them. So what happens is that other people end up kind of being like an artistic cover band to that person, trying to think that the truth is behind how that person paints. Now you might find truths by trying to represent that person in, say, doing master copy style things, but overall, I don't think that it's necessary in order to discover them. So, all that to be said is, I think that the best way to enter competitions is find something that's uniquely interesting, and one of the ways I tell people to find it is look at very unconventional, not seen often, old master paintings, or people that have painted like maybe 60 years or 100 years at the latest and earlier. So, say like people that are painting in the 1930s and earlier, and try to find something that really intrigues you that's not like a mainstream painting, and find what it is about that painting that intrigues you, and try to make a painting either using that color palette or color harmony or something else. Instead of representing what seems to be trending now, you try to be the trend by making the next trend happen.
Yeah, and when it comes to competitions and things like that, just always keep in mind that you never really know what's going to happen. And honestly, whoever's judging, they could have a totally different pick of artwork the next day. Like, it's just so subjective, and it's hard to not like put all of your meaning and all of your self-worth into a competition. So just always go into competitions knowing that it's just luck of the draw sometimes, and that you shouldn't put all of your worth in there, which is something that, I think a lot of artists usually deal with, because it's not easy being rejected.
No.
Or not winning.
Keep moving things over on this. I think that everything you said is really good truth. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday. Evie and I were the same topic. So well said. So yet again, I think of this as like an armature. I'm just kind of putting down some skeletal wiring for scale purposes. I'm not even trying to get the drawing really right. It's more about trying to fit what I want compositionally in this piece. So that's why I'm like erasing and spending so much time, because composition is sort of the foundation, and I know that composition is not what we're working on here on this one. It's more of an exercise, but I don't know. I kind of want to like make it look good anyway.
Yeah, and when it comes to having this much stuff, like, I get it, it's only really 3 objects, like 2 pieces of fabric and a chair, but it's really easy to get lost in all those folds.
Yep.
So having the landmarks is really helpful.
We have a few more people saying hi. We have someone from the Netherlands,
Hey.
Awesome.
from the Wales in the United Kingdom.
Awesome.
To
Wales, wow.
continue on the topic, I'm not sure if it's about competition painting or just painting in general. Do you think the painting should have a message, or is it about the overall experience of standing in front of it?
Ooh, well, you go for it.
I went to a art university, so I kind of had this whole grudge against art always needing to have a meaning, because in all of my classes, my teachers were always like, but what does it make you feel? Like, what does it mean? And it annoyed me a lot, because sometimes I just wanted to paint something that I thought was really pretty and didn't necessarily have a really deep meaning. So I would say that, and this might not be fully answering the question, but it doesn't always necessarily have to have a why. And people are more than welcome to put their own meaning and maybe their own experiences onto the painting as they're viewing it, but it's totally fine to just paint a pretty picture because you want to paint a pretty picture.
Yep. The why there is beauty's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Beauty for beauty's sake. And so I totally agree. And they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So you can have something that's experiential, but also have meaning. And that could be one layer of depth to, say, your poetry of the painting. But it most certainly doesn't have to be. Just like you can have a really amazing jazz band that only has four players of different instruments, or you can have, a big band that has like 60, or an orchestra, and neither of them make the music any less or more. It just adds more depth to it. But the more depth you add and the more variables you add, the more you have to balance. And so it's like balancing a stick on another stick. And you have to make sure that everything is balanced from the foundation all the way up, the more you add to it. So, and I think that's where everybody, that's the pitfall, is that finding balance and complexity, and most of the time, 99% of the time, you didn't have to get that complex, because you can make something equally as beautiful that's simple. And some of the most simple paintings are some of my favorite paintings out there. I mean, look at the goldfinch.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a beautiful painting. I could look at it for hours. And it's just a goldfinch perched on a little metal bracket, And so, but there's something about it that is so beautiful that I will stare at it forever. No, I think it's gonna be so much fun. I'm really excited about this.
I'm excited too. I'm hopeful. A little nervous. We'll see how it goes.
It's okay. It wouldn't be a Conquer Your Fear day if you weren't a little nervous.
Very true.
You got this.
Thank you, Olivia.
I want to see somebody else's drapery that they've put on. I would love for y'all to get up on the Discord later, show us what setup you're working on. I've really enjoyed looking at people's Discord comments and works in progress that they're doing. It's so enriching and inspiring and makes me want to keep doing these things for everyone. So keep that coming.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. I love checking it. I'll wake up in the morning and be like, oh, what happened on Discord? Just seeing everyone's work is really cool.
We have Mustafa asking, who are your favorite artists who have painted drapery?
Well, one of the most powerful that comes to mind is Da Vinci's drawing of one of his drawings of drapery that I've always felt inspired by, and that's what our thumbnail is, if I'm not mistaken, is Da Vinci's Drapery. So that one mainly comes to mind, but I also am thinking about like Velázquez and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name at the moment, but I'll think of it here in a second. Van Eyck, and how they painted drapery. Van Dyke and Van Eyck, both of the Vans. They both painted drapery incredibly interestingly, in their own ways too. So those are some of the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I feel like my favorite uses of drapery are usually in clothing, like when Bouguereau paints women in like those really thick kind of robes, I guess is how you would call it. Really nice. Love how he handles it.
Well, and I'm a sucker how Sargent paints simplified drapery and like satin. I could look at that all day long.
When we went to Chicago, we saw I don't know if it's even like a new one or what happened, but I've never seen that Sargent there before. I don't remember the name. I think it's like Mrs. Gibson or something like that. But it's like the woman, and she has her hand on her hip, and she has like this white dress, and the way he handled the sheer sleeve on that painting is amazing. I was like just taken away and annoyed
at the same
how
time.
good it was.
Yep. Kind of like Mustafa being annoyed at you. It's like the best kind of annoyed ever.
Yeah.
It's like inspired annoyed.
It's like, oh,
It's like, come on, man.
but like, I love you. Like,
Yeah.
wow, you're so good.
Jean is sharing Michelangelo as an example. Any other audience people want to chime in to answer that question? We would love to hear it. Who do you love who painted drapery? There was a second part to Mustafa's question. Do you personally like to often include it on the still life table?
I do. I feel like it adds a nice texture difference depending on what you're painting. It's also a nice way to add some more value range. Like I've been doing a lot of still lifes on like a wooden desk, and having a white piece of fabric on top of that just adds a nice range to the value. It's not my favorite thing to paint, but I'm getting over that, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it can definitely add a nice variety in terms of texture. And it's usually very subtle. So if you have some things that are maybe have more contrast or bigger value differences, it can provide a nice balance. It is challenging though, for sure.
It is. But I think, at least my issue, I always overcomplicate things. So having to just simplify it is probably the best way to go, but it's not my natural inclination to do. I like to complicate things.
I think all of us can complicate things because the way we focus on our visual world is visually, or the world visually is by focusing. And we see all of this stuff, and it's just easy to like try to
Do it all.
do it all, and then we want to like add more. It comes back down to that thing that if we complicate it more, we think it's going to be better.
Yeah.
And that's just not always the case.
I sometimes feel a great temptation to paint everything to 100%. And sometimes that's not the right thing to do. You know, got to pick a focal point. And so I think that is where drapery can be a little difficult.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
We have a Couple people chiming in. Alyssa says for drapery, Roger van der Weyden, who is Flemish, and William Dobson, English Baroque.
Cool.
I would be interested in looking up some of the pieces.
Yeah.
And then we have Paul Anthony Barker saying, I love Daniel Sprick's paintings. Have you guys seen his still lifes and portraits?
Oh, yeah.
I love his work.
Incredible painter.
He has a really good documentary also done on him. I think it's on YouTube.
Ah, he does?
Yeah, it's like a 40-minute documentary, and it shows his studio, and like they do like kind of an interview process with him. And he has this huge horse skeleton in his studio that I guess he tells the story, but he found it on the side of the road or something, and he had someone re-articulate it, and it's in his studio, and he's included in a lot of his paintings, but it's just really cool.
Spooky.
I would highly recommend watching that. And he's just like a cool guy. He's very quiet,
Very quiet.
but seems like he has a lot of really good stories.
And he also has a bit of a community of people around him too. He does open figure nights, and I often see people and friends at his open figure nights. So,
So cool.
yeah.
He's in Colorado?
Yeah, Denver, outside of Denver.
Nice.
Drawing a blank on, it's the same place that I think University of Colorado is. It's like, 40 minutes outside of Denver.
Ah.
All right, let's paint some drapery after like 20 minutes of going around.
You Stalin, Louis?
Yep, Stalin, trying to avoid.
If I just do everything except for the drapery, I
Then
won't have
right.
to do it.
Exactly, it'll look so cool.
We like to avoid our problems here.
You know, that's how we conquer our fears. We just avoid them.
What problems?
The exact opposite of what we're trying to do.
Kind of on that note, we have a question. Is there value in forcing yourself to finish a grueling painting or drawing after the joy is lost? I abandon a lot of paintings, unfortunately.
Yes.
Absolutely, there is value in it. Part of what is a challenge for an artist is to learn how to problem solve yourself back into a freshness of your painting, and how to problem solve around things that you've made. If you avoid the mistakes and abandon them, you probably won't see growth happen as fast. So I would highly recommend getting back up on the horse and at least trying to figure out what the problem was and solve it. If you can just solve one problem in each one of them, and then you can abandon it, then I think you'll make yourself at a much better state of, or a much better painter, because you're going to learn faster.
Definitely. Well, I went through that when I was painting a recent figure, and I had it on my easel for maybe like 3 weeks or something, and it just wasn't working. And I was going to give up on it, but we just kind of put it aside, and I put it in timeout. That's what I would call it, because it was just like annoying me, and I was so tired of looking at it. And I didn't pick it up again until another month or two. And just having that clear eye on it is really helpful. And I was able to look at it, and it really wasn't that bad. It just had some issues that I had to learn how to fix. And then guess what? I fixed them. And it was like my favorite painting. So you have to power through it at least a little bit. And if not, just put it aside. Don't throw it away or wipe it or anything. Just give it time. Break up with it for a little bit.
True. Don't get rid of it. Because
Yeah.
I feel like one of the most satisfying things about continuing to paint is looking back on old paintings and being like, I know what I did wrong, or I know what I could have done better, or I remember struggling this thing, but now I know how to do that thing.
Exactly.
That's That's great, Liv. Good point.
Someday the struggle will pay off.
It absolutely
will.
will.
Joyce was asking, what color green did you add to your palette? I think for Louis.
Well, I don't have a green on here. I have a green down here that's just a dried up spot where I put green.
Did you just add something?
No. I added some transparent oxide red to my palette because I didn't earlier. But there's no green on here. I hope it's not showing up weird on the camera. But only colors I have on my palette are oxide red and yellow, ultramarine blue and cobalt, and manganese violet, alizarin crimson, and Naples yellow. Oh, and I do have this lead tin yellow. So that might show up as maybe slightly greenish looking. But no, there's no green up here. And if there's green that I see, it would be so subtle up on the still life that I can make it with what colors I have. So I tend to not put it on there. Speaking of, I need to put some more cobalt. Cobalt is always so thick coming out of my tube, I have to like keep cutting it a little bit just for it to like move.
Is it Old Holland?
This one is Old Holland.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of Old Holland's paints are very thick. That's why I usually don't use theirs paint, because I like more oily consistency.
Mm-hmm.
It must just be the way they formulate things.
Yeah, and they're probably trying to keep it as lean as possible is what I would think is their goal there. I mean, just like yesterday, I'm kind of making just a gradient of warm cools, lights, darks, and just thinking about some of the bigger shapes. Not worried too much about the folds yet, just trying to get kind of a larger, bigger shape out of this, something to work into.
We have a comment from Paula. I've found that learning to find and especially articulate my painting's problems has helped me figure out how to resolve them.
Love it.
Yep, so true.
Definitely. The ability to critique your own work and kind of be objective about it is so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also not being your worst critic and being so incredibly hard on yourself that it's debilitating.
Yep.
It's a fine line.
There's a fine line there. I mean, being a good constructive critic of your work is such a powerful tool, but also being very constructively encouraging when you find yourself making good decisions and not getting down about anything. It's a balance that I don't know if you ever find the perfect balance. You can get yourself centered and you can keep pushing towards that, but you always are kind of in flux. You're either going more towards being healthier in that field or less.
Agree with that. Sometimes it's so easy to just focus on the things going wrong.
Yep.
But there's always things going right too. Even if you're not happy with it, there are some things that you could find that you like.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like how you always remember the insults and you don't remember the compliments enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
I think personally, I kind of swap back and forth between being too critical, where I'm like, ugh, I'm not a good painter, to the opposite, where I'm like, ugh, there's nothing wrong with this painting.
Yeah, I'm so good.
I'm the best.
Yeah, it's like wrong in both directions, but I at least prefer the happy delusion.
Yeah, I would be right there with you.
I definitely have had students in the past where I'll be like, how do you feel about this? Oh, I feel really good about this. And I'm thinking in my head, we don't need to feel good about this. We don't need to feel good about it. We need you to see
Yes.
the things that you need to assess.
Yeah.
So that was a little harsh. It was meant to be funny, but then it came out harsh. it's one of those things where you need to. It's like, okay, well, I see that this is working. Finding the thing that works, doing a bit of the compliment sandwich, but then afterwards, laying down the hammer. No,
Laying down the hammer.
just. But I'm just kidding. It's more about finding the areas that feel like that would be the best thing for them to see at their journey and stage of painting.
Right. And that must be hard as a teacher, though. Like, making sure you're giving them enough criticism, but so that it doesn't come across as too harsh or, like, not motivating enough. That's something that I would probably struggle with as a teacher. I wouldn't want to...
It's really hard.
I would probably sugarcoat a lot of stuff.
What has helped is seeing people happy to see the hard criticism, and going, okay, well, they were happy that I was like trying really hard for them to see a certain thing,
Right.
and that gives me like encouragement to keep going, So that as a teacher, that's what I look for. I look for finding and assessing what is the appropriate amount for them to receive it without breaking them down too much, It's really a challenge.
We had a nice comment from Melissa. The way the cameras are set up is awesome today.
Oh,
Thank you.
cool. I'm glad you like them. When we do vertical paintings, we'll keep going back to this format because I really like it too.
And Joy says, I like constructive comments, which help me grow. Good.
That's really good.
Agreed. It's easy to just not want to hear it, but it's struggle is necessary for growth. And, it's only good in the end.
Yeah, it's only going to help you.
Yep.
And I think your mentality also going into it as a student is important too, because your teacher's not attacking you. You can't take it really personally. They're just trying to help you.
Yep.
Unless they're just a really mean teacher.
There are mean teachers.
There are mean teachers.
There are teachers that have that I've seen that have no emotional intelligence and don't know how far they've gone, and I think that's equally as important to know.
Yeah, they either don't know how far they've gone or they don't care.
Or they don't care. Yeah, and if they don't care, then they're not a great teacher because that means they really don't care about you, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So. Now, the other thing is there's certain personalities that just, they want you to lay it down. They want it all, and they want it, a lot of it at once. And then there's other people that are like, I don't do well having all of it at once, And so I think it's important for an instructor to ask, how is it that you learn? How do you receive instruction best, and to try to tailor accordingly. Oh, I'm moving that, and that's probably moving the camera. All right. Okay, I'm gonna pull that back in.
Yeah, and it's good to know yourself as well, especially if you have a teacher, and to be able to communicate that or know your limits. If you're feeling a bit discouraged, maybe be able to vocalize that. Yeah.
And as a student, that's helpful for a teacher to know. Saying, look, today's kind of a discouraging day. It's hard to be that honest with an instructor, and I think that's why it's important for environments like this where you're a little bit closer to each other and you know each other's personalities a little bit more because you spend every day with them. And like here at East Oaks, there's just a small number of us here, and I like it that way because it allows me to focus the time with the people here. And that way you get to know them better and understand what works for them really well. this looks like it's going to be one of those paintings where it's like, it's all going to be kind of at random and then it's all going to pull together at the end. At least that's my hope.
Me too.
Yeah. All of a sudden it's going to be like that one mark and they're like, oh,
It all makes sense.
it all makes sense
The
now.
beginning is always the rough part for
Yeah.
me because I like things to look good, and it's hard to make things look good when you're not done yet.
Yeah. Makes sense.
We have a question. I don't know if you'd be able to answer this. Can you please demystify Alex Venezia's works in terms of final style rather than initial technique, I guess? His sense of color weaving, environmental effect, and overall mood.
Ooh.
Did you do that? You've worked closely.
Yeah. No, I mean, for about a year, you know, I was helping critique a lot of his stuff to just have some eyeballs on it. You know, it was fun because we got to see him go from zero to hero while he was here at East Oaks. I wouldn't call it zero to hero. He was already talented. He just didn't have the right components in the right spots quite yet. And then it clicked one day and it was fun to see. It was really, really fun to see. You know, that's a hard question in the sense that without like going into depth of all the different things that he's doing in his work, I don't know if I can answer that perfectly well, but he continuously mixes on his palette and then goes and makes a mark or two. He's very thoughtful about what he sees and what marks he's making. As far as color harmony and balance, he absolutely is thinking about color harmony beyond a photo. His color harmonies never look like the photo, or rarely look like the photo color. So he's mixing different color often there. What makes his color the way it is his limited color palette of his choices of colors that he uses. But then he has, as all artists do, tendencies of like formula mixtures that you make that are your go-to mixtures. And I see that often with him of like what he keeps making, going back to this very similar mixtures each time to make his painting because he knows how that works for him. So, and I've seen a lot of experiments that didn't go great, you know, and a lot of experiments that went incredible. So that's part of the beauty of working together in an environment like this is because you realize that the artists have hard days. And, you know, to go back to what Tina was saying and go back to like not giving up on a painting, his most frustrating painting was The Haunting, and he could not get the skin tones, and he was so frustrated that he almost gave up on the painting. And then he decided to keep working through it for another several days, and something clicked. And that was the painting that put him on the map. Like that was the one that like everyone remembers as being like the painting that everyone started seeing on Instagram, and it blew up on Instagram.
Yeah, he won first place painting at Portrait Society for that one.
Yep. So that's like a testament to not give up on a painting, because sometimes you look at a painting for so long, and Tina and I were talking about this a few days ago, that you get used to the painting to a degree that it becomes like a law of diminishing returns for you. You get so used to it that you just get sick of looking at it. And you've been struggling through it, and sometimes you don't know if it's good or not. And you have
the worst feeling.
You have to like either rely on your peers to tell you that you should keep moving on it. Even my self-portrait, there's times where I'm like, you know what, this painting is a dud. I'm not even happy about it anymore, you know. But I had to have like everybody else be like, you know what, you need to keep working on it. It's good, just keep going. And so we all have those days, and he is no exception. And I'll have paintings. I mean, he put the one that won first this past year, he worked on that for months and put it aside and literally put it in timeout, like Tina was saying.
I remember seeing that when I first started at East Oaks, it was kind of just like on the ground.
It was just sitting on the ground on the side. He didn't have it in a show.
It was just on the floor, like nothing.
He delayed that painting so many times that like he was in 3 different parts of our studio working on it because he had relocated his studio space 3 different times working on that painting. So he worked on it upstairs, he worked on it in the side wing, he worked on it downstairs in his apartment area. And he kept putting it aside because he's like, yeah, I don't like it yet, you know. So there's a testament to seeing something through.
Yeah. And just goes to show how important having a community is, even if it's just one person to have look at your work, even if it's like your mom. As long as your mom can be honest and helpful about your work, like it's just good to have another person that you can talk to about it.
Yep.
This is back on the topic of criticism and mentorship, I believe. Paula says, your mention of the hamburger feedback model, or like compliment sandwich,
yep.
is so important. There's always something positive to say, even if it's not about the painting specifically, but about the student's hard work.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So well said.
And Benjamin says, having a great painting day today, so can't stay too long. Yesterday was frustrating. Thank you for working me through it with your live stream.
Oh, awesome. Well, we were glad to be there with you. In these stages, I always got to be careful not to get into the details, but to like just get the big picture down. And I like where things are going. It's just making sure that the whole thing as large shapes and large values are syncing.
Yeah. You said that earlier. You said something similar to that. You're like, I'm trying not to get too specific while I was getting specific. And I was like, oh, you're right. I should stop doing that. So, you're teaching me now, Louie.
There we go.
We have a question. What is your thought process when starting this painting? Are you starting with darkest, lightest values, midtones? I often find I add too much blue in my white shadows.
I kind of started mine with the most chromatic area, which was the peach fold that's like above the armchair, at least from my vantage point. And then I'm kind of working my way around it. And then I also made sure to put in my chair arm because that's going to be my darkest spot. And that way I can key my values according to that. We'll see if it works. It's just how I'm starting it.
I tend to like put a dark in my lightest light and then like maybe a most chromatic moment. Just as a range to shoot for so that I know the range of my paint. That I have found to be some of the most helpful ways of painting drapery. And I paint a lot of drapery in my work, like in my commission work, because like, you know, people are wearing clothes. For the most part, if I'm doing a commission, they're wearing clothes.
Yes.
So not when they're modeling for a figure piece, but with that, that's how I operate. I think about what's the most hierarchical chromatic spot, what's the most neutral spot, the darkest spot, and the lightest spot. And then I work in between those to get the range that I want. So that being said, I can go back into this. I'm going to add a little bit lower value.
It seems like it could be helpful to start with the darkest and the most chromatic, because then from there you can find harmonies around that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
This shows how much we hang out.
Oh,
You
man.
know, when you can sync 2 or 3 comments together at the same time.
Great artists think alike.
There we go.
That would have been really weird if we both said there we go at the same time.
I feel like we probably would have.
Yep. Because there we go is something I totally say.
Yeah.
So.
But it's really cute how everyone kind of picks up each other's like sayings or mannerisms and stuff. I've
Yeah.
noticed that sometimes.
Like with Evie's thing.
Yeah, Evie always goes like this.
So cute.
Yep.
I just feel like we all have our own little thing, and I notice sometimes I start doing things like that. I'm like, oh, I got that from Erica or something. It's sweet.
We should do like a gestures game night. Like we do a lot of like fun game nights and dinners here. We haven't a lot lately because we've been so crazy busy, but
Yeah.
we're starting to back up very soon. And we need to do like a gestures night where you have to go, you can use a one gesture or one phrase to represent this person in the group, and the other people have to guess it.
Oh, that'd be good. That would be
You know?
really good.
That would be a lot of fun.
We should totally do that. I'm just trying to think of what mine is. But we'll find out when we do this.
Yeah.
I want to know what
I
people...
know exactly what yours would be. Yeah, I know exactly what it'd be.
All right, we'll have to do this.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Paul says, hi from North Yorkshire, United Kingdom.
Oh, cool.
I like the comment of putting a piece to one side. Looking can sometimes be more beneficial than trying to keep on painting it through the finish.
Yeah. If you're feeling frustrated while you're painting, I feel like most of the time your painting is going to reflect that.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
Some days, like when I'm just like, ugh, what am I doing? Like I'll shift my focus and I'll do like maybe more admin stuff. I'll like answer emails or I'll go on Pinterest and look up some inspiration, just kind of until my mind shifts a little bit to a more positive outlook, and then I allow myself to paint.
I call it living to fight another day. So, and that used to be one of my big sayings here that Divya would say is my Louisism. I'd come up and be like, okay, it's time to call it today because I'm just going to live to fight another day.
Yep.
We need to hear what everybody else is working on. Really want to know.
Yeah. How's everyone's drapery setup going?
Definitely do share images. Any particular fun colors you're working with in the drapery? Today we have a nice peachy color. That's fun. I'm excited about that one.
Me too.
On the question of where to start for your painting, we had someone asking, the darkest might not necessarily have the highest chroma, and maybe the midtones do, and I think that would be the case for this painting, or about.
Yeah. That's why I do like 4, which is like the darkest dark, the lightest light, the most chromatic, and the least, because often they aren't related to each other. You know, because the lightest light might be a highlight and have like no color, or might be blue, and then in some other cases it might be a different. It might be the most chromatic in some cases, and if that's the case, then you just compile those two together.
It's kind of like a puzzle, how you do the borders first, and then you work in between,
Mm-hmm.
fill out the rest of it.
Add some more to that lightest light, speaking of.
Joyce is asking, what are your thoughts on the tint of your highlights? How do you decide?
Well, I feel like sometimes, like if I'm working from life and if I'm working from photo, and the tint of the highlight, right?
Yeah.
She said. Sometimes I'll change it depending on how I feel might fit the painting better. I do that a lot when I'm painting metal because I feel like when it comes to the highlights of metal, they're very shiny, and depending on what's around it or even like how close you are to it, if you're wearing something that's really colorful, it might even reflect onto the highlights. So I feel like in instances like that, I'll sometimes just like shift it whichever way I want to, and that will feel more harmonious to the rest of the painting. In some instances, like if I'm painting like a gold chalice or something and there's like something purple in the painting, I'll tint the highlight to be more yellow so that way it complements the purples in the painting. So I kind of do it however I think might better help the painting and not always necessarily do what I see from life, which I think is a good outlook to have because you don't always want to be a stickler to what's in front of you or to what's in your photograph. You can always change it.
Yeah, and it's a good technique to have when you can take the hues or colors of some objects in your painting and add them in subtle ways to the other objects to create a nice balance where everything's playing together.
Yeah, don't be a slave to your reference image. I feel like that's a saying that I've heard somewhere before, and it's really true.
To add to that, you can also think about it scientifically too, that the tint of your highlight is a reflection of whatever the light source color is. And say your light source color is white, because most time light is, if you have a large spectrum of light coming from either the sun or say on a cloudy day or on, a cool light source, it's going to be like white light reflecting off. So that being said is that if you have a blue object, it's going to look warmer. But if you have like a really blue object, or if you have a red object, it's going to look cooler. So I would make it cooler in a red object, warmer in a blue object, and I would make it have just a hint of the color of the object, because no highlight, unless it's like a perfect reflection of a cue ball or something, no highlight is not going to have a touch of the local color in it. So keeping that in mind, that should help create that bit of separation.
She said, love that answer. Thank you.
Awesome.
We have a question. How do you guys feel about doing long still lifes under a lamp? As autumn approaches, I'm finding natural light to be a limited resource.
Well, we're working under a lamp right now,
Yeah,
just a really strong one.
yeah.
So I feel good about it.
I love using artificial light. I don't think I've ever done a still life from natural light, just because it's harder to control. You never know what the clouds are going to do.
Yep. I'm also trying to keep everything really compressed at this stage, where I can expand my range a bit more later. And that's so that it's easy to get caught up in contrasts, but what I want this to do is still feel white. And so I'm keeping my range of value limited so that it makes sense with the white, especially when I start putting in more stuff later. It might be more representational of what's surrounding the drapery. I'm not going to put a whole lot in the background. I'm going to keep it pretty rough. At least I feel like I am, unless I feel like I have a lot of time on my hands afterwards. And the main reason for that is because if you look at, for example, Da Vinci's drapery, it's like floating. There's not like a lot of environment around it. It's just well done drapery. And so there's nothing competing with like that star of the show.
We have Alyssa commenting. I think on the topic of highlights, I believe you can see that effect in Lewis's Morning Reverie in the warm, cool play of the sky blue accents and the lights into the thin shadows is just magnificent.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was my sweet cousin who modeled for that.
Oh, is that the one on the stairs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Esteban says, I started painting the pumpkins in Alla Prima yesterday with you guys.
Yay.
And I liked it so much that I couldn't wait to get home and continue it.
Nice.
Now I bought myself some pumpkins to do my own still life.
That makes me so happy. I mean, that is the whole reason we're doing this challenge.
Yeah. Awesome.
Put some more white up here. Already running out. That's a good sign. Means I'm using paint.
Yep. Is that, are you using lead or titanium?
Both.
Oh.
I'm doing a combination of the two. The titanium helps make the lead move better, but the tinting strength of it is so strong that I have to cut it about 2 parts lead to 1 part titanium so that I can actually get color in the rest of my stuff. It can just overpower. It also, it's a strong, powerful color. So like it can mute and bring up the value of a lot of things. So if you need that for like another overpowering color, say like cadmium red or something like that, works really well. But a lot of the colors I use have a medium tinting strength. And so sometimes they can't handle it.
My alizarin is I call them bully colors.
Yep.
Because they're just bullies and they take over every other color. And my alizarin is my bully.
I have found that if you have a counter bully, they work really well together. So like my Naples yellow is a great counter bully to my alizarin crimson. So I can make really nice skin tones with it for that reason. But it absolutely is a bully, and so is titanium white. But if you know how to use it, then it can be a positive asset. The great thing about this is you get down the colors and you get the large shapes related to each other. But then after you've got all of that down, you get to play with edge work, and that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that.
That brings me to thinking about one of our challenges, which is the edge work day. Everyone, make sure you don't miss that day. That's going to be a fun day. We're going to start off super soft, as if we're looking through like a foggy glass, and we're going to continue to build and build and build on it.
Is that next week or the following?
It's, I think it's the following week.
But next week on Monday, we're doing setting up a model and a color study. That'll be fun too.
Yep. That will be fun.
I just want to do another color study. that I'll feel better about than drapery.
Oh, I'm sure you're doing great over there.
I'm facing my fears.
That's it. That's what it's all about.
Here's a question. How do you make paintings look like the naturalist old masters? Is it about blurry edges and tight value ranges?
I mean, that's a big question. I think that it is so many things. It's brushwork. It's not only tight value ranges, but organizing your value ranges for the appropriate locations. It is simplifying. And every old master is different. I mean, to say how William Bouguereau paints and how Mancini paints and put them in the same category of like what makes them an old master and how they painted. I mean, their painting formats were just incredibly different from each other. So,
Yeah. I'd say find the artist that you really enjoy, like your old master that you really like, and ask yourself why you like that painting. Is it the value range? Is it the mark making? Or is it the subject matter? And maybe that'll help you narrow it down to figure out how you can include that into your own work.
And it could be a really good time to do some master copies.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for.
Love master copies. I need to do more
good
master
thought,
copies.
Liv. Some of the beauty in this. Go ahead, Livia.
Oh, I was going to ask, what are some favorite master copies you've done?
You know, I haven't done a whole lot of them, but one of my favorite that I have done is I did a master copy of William Truss Richard's a sunset painting of his, and right now it's in our still life room. There's parts of it that I haven't finished in the sense that I wanted to do a lot of like heavy mark making and impasto in it, and I haven't done that part yet. But the colors are aligned, so it's among many of my paintings that stay a bit unfinished. But that's one of my favorites that I've done. Spent a lot of time on that one.
When I first started at East Oaks, one of my first I wouldn't say assignments, but like
Challenges,
things,
tasks.
Yeah, that Louis had me do was do 5x7 color studies of master copies. And I did a few. I did like Bouguereau, I did a John Singer Sargent, I did a Lip King. But I think my favorite is the Michael Klein one that I did, where it's the woman in that purple dress sitting on like a brown sofa.
Yep.
I think that one, that's when it clicked. Like things started clicking for me, and I love that painting. I think that one's my favorite.
That was a good one.
It's fun doing them because sometimes it's surprising what you figure out doing it. You might make assumptions about the values or the colors going into it, but then when you're actually mixing it on your palette, you're like, huh, that's not what I initially would have guessed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I did a copy of Jeremy Lipking's, I don't remember the name, but it's like his daughter in that red cape. She's like Little Red Riding Hood, but in the snow. And I tried so hard to get that color mixture right, but it ended up becoming like just a really bright blue, which is crazy. But next to the red, it just made sense. And I think that's like, mind blown moment. Or like,
Yeah,
oh
it was
my
one of
God,
those aha moments
this
for
is
you.
crazy.
Yep. That was so much fun for me because I was going, okay, I'm going to ask you questions, and that's usually how I teach. Is I'm going to ask you questions, and I'll say, is this color lighter or darker than the color that you're seeing? And that we like lighter, and then you go, is this color more blue or more red? And you'll find that your eye is sharp enough. You're not asking the right questions often. And that's what it really comes down to most of the time.
Yeah, just like taking your time, like slowing down and really asking yourself, like, what am I looking at right now? What am I seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do it, the easier it gets, where you can get closer and closer to right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's so satisfying.
Yes.
Mustafa is asking, when do you all varnish? How long do you wait? And if you want to take a photograph of the painting before you wait that long, how would you remedy the sinking in the final piece?
Ooh, this is something that's been a thing in our studio as of late. All right, so it depends on what colors you use to paint, and it depends on the varnish you're using to varnish. Some varnish has harder solvents in it than others, and if your paint is not completely dry, you can lift paint that's medium dry because the solvent in the varnish is so harsh. Think about like, fingernail polish remover, which is like acetone. Some solvents in varnish are that strong, and even though it might be hard, just like nail polish is hard, it might start lifting paint up if it's not fully dry. So I most certainly had that happen in one of my commissions, and I had to tell my client that we had to delay when to bring it because I had messed up the painting. So here's a couple of the things that I would recommend. Number one, if you're going to photograph it while it's still sunken in, the recommendation that I have been told that I have yet to try, that's on my list of things to try, is you can put polarized film on your light source. Make sure that it's encompassing and covering the entire light source, and then putting a polarized lens filter on your camera and turning it the opposite way. And what that does is it cuts all the sinking in glare from your painting, supposedly. Now, yet again, I have not tried it, but this is in theory what I have heard to be true.
Yeah, and when in doubt, wait another week. If you have any doubts,
Yeah.
just don't risk it. I haven't had an instance where I've had like a painting be ruined by varnishing, but it's definitely one of my worst fears. So, but I use Gambar. So in theory, you can do it when it's touch dry, but if you have areas that are like thicker than others, make sure you test the thickest area of your painting and be sure it's dry. And if you have doubts, don't do it. Just give it time. Better to wait a week than have to fix
Redo it. Yeah. Well said.
A couple questions from Joyce. Is your Naples yellow from natural pigments? I find each brand is different.
Mine is Michael Harding, and absolutely every brand is different. There's no doubt about that. Mine is Michael Harding, and I really like it. However, I do enjoy Natural Pigments version. It's just a different version, and they have like Naples Yellow Light, and Naples Yellow Medium, and Naples Yellow Dark. I would say my Michael Harding version is similar to their Naples Yellow Dark, but it's a touch more chromatic than Natural Pigments, if I remember correctly. So keep that in mind.
And is that the genuine Naples yellow, or is it the? Because I know that Michael Harding has a genuine Naples yellow that's like really expensive, but it's like the true form of Naples yellow.
I do not think.
It would say it on there.
Yeah, it's just Naples Yellow, which is PBR 24, chromium oxide, and titanium antimony. So this is what it looks like.
Oh. Beautiful.
But really powerful color when you're working with neutrals like this. So you got to use it sparingly.
Joyce is also asking, will your background be free from brush strokes by the end of it?
My background, no. I think I'll put some brushy marks in there, you know, in some areas. But I might fade it out too. I'm not sure yet exactly what it's going to look like, but it will have something. It'll have something somewhere. How about that?
Something
Gonna have
somewhere.
to watch till the end and wait and find out.
Stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
And Joyce says, yes, that's a lot darker than my natural pigments or Vasari.
There's a fruit fly that just landed on my painting. Excuse me.
I'm going to call that good luck.
You just blessed my painting. Thank you.
Yes.
So much. Fruit fly.
Be blessed.
We have a question. Does anybody have any tips to avoid mildew and fungus on surface? I live in a humid place and can't afford AC or a dehumidifier at the moment.
Ooh.
That's a challenge. You know what? I really don't know if I have an answer for that one.
But I think that George O'Hanlon might,
Yeah.
who is the owner of Natural Pigments, and he has a Facebook group that's called Painting Best Practices.
And he
And-
lives in he lives in Northern California where
Uh-huh.
it's a bit more humid, like misty humid.
Yeah, and I bet he'd know. So if you go on their Facebook group and just ask the question, they would be more than happy and more than knowledgeable
Yep.
on that topic.
They are fantastic at that.
Another question. In my country, it's hard to find Michael Harding or Rublev. I bought some, okay, I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Sennelier?
Sennelier.
Sennelier. Recently. Is that a good brand?
It's a great brand.
Yeah.
I'm actually good friends with Pierre, who is the U.S. ambassador, or was for a while. I think he just went on his own to do other things, but for a long time he was the ambassador for Sennelier paints. You know, I mean, if it's good enough for John Singer Sargent, it's good enough for me.
I didn't know he used Sennelier.
That's how old the family brand is.
Wow.
It's Sargent would use it, I think, exclusively.
That's awesome.
There you go. They had said, is it at least a brand among contemporary figure painters? Haven't seen anyone using Sennelier. John Singer Sargent, there you go.
Oh my God.
Yep, and I know that there's several colors that I have. There's Sennelier. I have a turquoise color by Sennelier. And it is fantastic if you like colors for, say, water. Like, say you're in like a tropical area. I don't use it a lot because there's very few times that you'll need that kind of color, but I bought it for that very reason. And I actually really love their cobalt blue. It's the most buttery blue I've ever bought. So I haven't bought it since because I usually just go to the store, but it's definitely in my arsenal. How's it going over there?
Oh, it's fine. I like the chair arm, which isn't drapery.
Don't pay no attention to the drapery, but look at that arm.
Look at that arm.
Actually, that's what this challenge is actually about.
It's a secret challenge that we didn't want everyone to know. It's actually how well can you paint a chair arm.
Amir says thank you. And we also got Julie saying Sennelier has a really cool store in Paris.
Ooh.
Very old
Yeah.
world.
Another reason we have to go to Paris.
Yep,
Let's go.
Woo.
part of the field trip. Actually, I think when I saw Jared in Paris, he posted being at the Sennelier store, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
I think I think I remember seeing that. It's awesome. There's a lot of hidden green in here.
Mm.
I like it. I feel like it works well with that pink.
Any opinions on this? We got comments about Schmick Norma. Did I say that right? Do you know what that is? I avoid Mussini for a Damar content. For the Damar content.
Is it a?
It must be a
varnish?
varnish.
Yeah.
Uh,
What was it again?
Schmink Norma.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
We'll have to do some research after.
Yeah. Dive in, find out what people are talking about. What's the thing?
Yeah.
But no,
anything-
Damar varnish I'm not a fan of. It can promote cracking in your work, and it dries very quickly, and for that reason people really like it, and it can give quite a glossy feel, but it's a tree sap based varnish, as a decent amount are. They're resin based, and so also, if I remember correctly, it's mildly toxic. And so,
I would, believe that. Resin, I feel like normally is harmful.
yeah, most like tree resins, the way they prepare it, and I don't know if it's the solvents they put it in or what, but for whatever reason, they tend to not have a good reputation for being good for you.
We got some clarification. It's a German company and it's pronounced like Schminke.
Oh, Schminke.
That's cute. I like that. Schminke. I'm going to go home and call Brian that. Hi, Schminke.
Hi, Schminke. Are you my Schminke? That's nice.
Is that a Seinfeld?
No, I was thinking of
Schmoopy?
Squishy from Finding Nemo, Dory.
Oh, yeah.
I will call you Squishy, and you are my Squishy.
Love that.
Joyce is asking, is there any online sites for sommelier?
Oh, I feel like
yes.
Jerry's, Blick, they sell them.
Yep, especially on their online. It's hard to find in the store, but you definitely can find it online.
Yeah, and it might honestly be cheaper online than buying it in store.
Yeah. In my experience, and Tina and I have talked about this before, it was my experience, it's cheaper to buy online than the store for Jerry's.
They do that like price match guarantee where you're supposed to go in store and get the same price because they change the prices online daily to like price match with what's going on like Amazon and Blick and things like that. But they don't give you the same deal when you're in store. And like I'm talking like I tried to buy a tube of paint by Michael Harding and it was $18 more expensive in person than online. So
Wow.
yeah, I left the store with nothing that day. It's like, you know what? I'm done with this.
I'm not doing it.
Not about that. I want a bargain.
You got a bargain?
You won a
Oh, I
bargain.
won. Yes.
Paintings are looking good.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely. How are you feeling about them?
I'm actually feeling pretty good. You know, it's one of those things where you have to be patient with drapery because there's so many folds and so much going on. You have to just take it slow and make sure that you're getting everything kind of in the right location. And I like to say, like I said earlier, I'm trying to kind of keep my edges softer. And I want this, for me, you know, there's a lot of ways of approaching just like anything, but for me, I want to approach this kind of in more of a sargenty way. I want to like abbreviate a little bit because I'm working. If I was drawing it, I might take a different approach where I get a little bit tighter. But considering that this is, you know, a more of a 3-hour thing than like a couple of day thing, I'm trying to pay closer attention to grouping things better. The other reason I keep the background lighter is because by keeping it lighter, then I will compress the drapery more towards the light, and that'll keep the whole drapery feeling bright while still having all of the form. And then it's just kind of a way to trick my own eye.
Yeah, I'm just remembering what Erica said before I did this. I was looking through Todd Casey's still life painting book for guidance. And she was like, just think of the planes. Just think of the planes of the drapery.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do exactly that.
And I'm just thinking essence of Sargent in my head.
Easy.
His ghost is with us today.
See, it's in the drapery.
Oh my God, what if he was the fruit fly?
You just killed Sargent again?
Actually, he's the cadaver on the table.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually
Plot
just a good
twist.
version.
I actually am having a lot of fun.
Good.
Speak for yourself, Lewis.
That's
glad
nice,
one of us
Louie.
is.
Glad you're having fun.
See if I invite you to my dinner party.
No, I am having fun. I'm just, the beginning is always the hardest part, so I'm just trying to get in as much as I can, and then I'll refine from there. But it's easier for me to change what I already have down.
Yep. I'm all about put something down and then learn to fix it. You'll find that it's a faster process that way.
Yeah. It just helps you get over that fear of making a mistake,
Yep.
because just put it down, could be wrong, but you can fix it.
Comment from Harriet. Hello, so nice to see you again. What is your lighting source?
Lighting source is, we have a film light. I like using film lights for things. I don't recommend people always using film lights because they're very expensive and you can find a better option cheaper. So the lighting source for the drapery is a film light. However, all of the lighting that is on our palettes and our paintings is our Philips bulbs that you could buy at at Home Depot online, and they're great because they have a high CRI rating, which means that they put out a larger amount of the light spectrum, which means that your colors are more true to what they actually are. And that's why I like it. I researched it for a long time to try to find the right lights, and so that's what we use here. And I use those basically as film lights too, and they are fractions of the price than my film lights. The film lights are like in the 1,000 range and more, and then my Philips lights are like $20. And I, 5 of those equate to this light. So for $100, you can have the same power as this light has.
It's very important to have good lights in your studio. I have definitely realized coming here that what I was using before was not adequate. It's so much easier being here and working with quality lights. It's had an immediate effect in the quality of my painting, I feel.
That's good. I'm glad too. It makes me happy. Something I'm like considering also is like, say that I only did the drapery without any background. It's still good to ground it. So like anywhere that it turns under and creates like a bit of a shadow, like at the point at which it touches whatever surface that it's in, bringing it all the way around to that shadow in that like dark line where the surface and the drapery connect will help it still feel solid and have like a sense of being placed in space somewhere. So just a thought to keep in mind. Today it's all about using the difficulty. We were talking about this yesterday. Where I'm already drawing a blank on his name again, and I asked the audience. So the audience, Alyssa might have to help me out again. I think it was Alyssa that helped me out the last time. But actor that I love so much, Michael Caine. Hey, there it is, Michael Caine. Talks about when he was in his younger years learning to act, and he had an acting instructor. And I'm going to tell the story again for the people who are new.
Yeah, I didn't hear this.
And the girls in here didn't hear it. So he has this like sound bite that like it kind of is going all over Instagram right now, I think. But he talked about in acting school, they had a stage and they were doing a whole scene. And they had like a fake door that you had to walk through, but there was a chair in the way. So he like opened the door and he couldn't get through it because like he could barely get through it because the chair's in the way. And he kind of stopped, and the instructor said, "What are you doing? Why are you stopping?" He's like, "Well, there's a chair in the way." It's like, use the difficulty. It's like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if it's a comedy, fall over it. And if it's a drama, smash it on the ground. And so he's like, and that I've used that throughout the rest of my life. Life is full of difficulties, and it's how you use the difficulty that makes the difference. And so finding opportunities and creative ways to use your difficulty. And there's something that Tina has said, and I've made it part of my motto that I tell people a lot, which is the hardships that you have, don't worry, it's good for the plot. And I've loved that, and I will now forever say that.
It's good for the plot. You wouldn't watch a TV show with no conflict.
Yeah. What kind? That would be the most boring show ever.
Yeah.
Unless it was a slice of life anime.
You know how that kind of show starts? It goes, once upon a time, they lived happily ever after.
There
The
you go.
end.
And it's fun. On the topic of lighting, Joyce says, Liv, painting in the Northwest during fall and winter is difficult with the dark skies. And I 100% agree. Cannot use natural light like half of the year. In the summer, you can do it, but you're on your own in those months once it gets dark. And then Amira says, I used to use a bright light, but recently I saw that paintings done under that light looks more dark under the natural light. What is the number of lumens I should maintain while painting, as you think?
Well, here's a good rule of thumb, because I know exactly what you're talking about. The good rule of thumb for you is if you put a black down and it's not reading as black to you fully, like it looks brighter than a black, then you're far too bright with your light. And if your whites look dull, then you're too dark. So what I tell people is think about your light source being a skylight on an overcast day, like a bright overcast day where the clouds are a bit thinner, but you're not able to see the sun, not like a dark and stormy, cloudy day. And that brightness, because believe it or not, a cloudy day is brighter than a blue sky day if you don't have sun coming in through it. The blue sky is actually darker than the clouds. So I always tell people, think about it as a bright, cloudy day, and that's how much power your light source should have. So you could go with the lumens and you get yourself a light meter and try to play around with it until you always get it right, but that is gonna help you far more. And also, another thing I do is if I'm working in the lights, I sometimes will make my light darker so that I can see a higher contrast in the lights. And then when I'm working in the darks, I'll make my light brighter so that I can see the contrast relationships in the darks. So that's another thing you can do to help combat that. Use the difficulty. Hopefully that was helpful.
It makes sense to me. I definitely know what she's talking about too, because I've had that problem. So many of my paintings, I think it looks good, and then I bring it to the other room or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
With natural light, it's disappointing.
Also, just test it. That's what I do all the time. I test my work in different lighting scenarios just to make sure they're reading, because it's very important. Years ago when I was a teenager and I was actually doing a commission on the beach, and the beach we went to at the time was in Destin, Florida, and they have the sand is pure white sand. It feels as bright as the sun when you're on it. I mean, it's so bright. And I would paint under an umbrella, but when I would be done with the painting, it looked beautiful out there. And then I brought it inside, and it just looked so dark and muddy. And I was so frustrated because I didn't know that was a thing at the time. Yeah. And so since then, I've always been very careful about how much light I do, and when I'm using it and when not to.
I've had that problem with temperature too, where I've painted on an especially cool blue day, and I was doing skin tones and I thought it looked right, but then the next day in more normal light, her face was orange.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is absolutely a thing.
Amira is asking any guidance to oil on copper. Recently, I've bought a few copper panels, but I don't know how to work on it. Whether it should be coated with gesso or not. By the way, can oil work on aluminum metal panel?
Okay, so these are great questions. The cool thing about copper is you can sand it, just score it with the sandpaper a little bit, and you can paint right onto it. And believe it or not, one of the strongest bonds you can make with oil is it oxidizes with the oil and creates a stronger, more stable bond than other forms of surfaces, including gesso or ground. So what I would tell people is if you're working on copper, use its greatest advantage and go ahead and just paint straight on it. Just sand it just a little bit with like a pretty fine grit where it makes the surface feel foggy, and that way you know the oil is going to grip better to it too. So it'll probably save you some extra steps later if you do that.
And I heard that you're also supposed to handle the copper with gloves because your fingerprints, when you leave oils and stuff on the panel, it can actually cause like oxidization, I think. I've seen a video on this recently on Instagram, and it can cause funky things to happen onto the copper. So make sure you clean it or just wear gloves when you handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Copper oxidizes so easily too.
Mm-hmm. But it looks really cool when it does.
Yep.
It makes like kind of green and bluey notes.
I'm looking forward to like getting on Discord later and seeing everybody's work, because I know you're working hard with us, right? You're not just watching, you're painting along.
Or doing the dishes. Or doing the laundry, you know.
Taking a bath.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be taking a bath while listening to other people paint.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all are doing a great job. Y'all just keep going.
You guys have fun over there.
Yeah.
I'll just be here in my bathtub.
Relaxing. Mir's asking, can we paint on aluminum metal as well?
Oh, on the aluminum, I forgot that he said that. No, I would put a ground on aluminum because it does not have the same oxidation bond that can happen with the oil. You can, I've heard people doing it, but I would play it safe and not in my own painting practices.
I remember I asked you about this before, and it can cause the paint to not adhere as well to the ACM, and it'll actually chip off easier than if you hadn't primed it. And also, it's just like a super slippery surface. I feel like gessoing it is usually a way to make it easier to handle when you paint.
Yeah.
That was an
You have been
alliteration.
warned.
Super slippery surface.
Ooh, say that 3
Super
times fast.
slippery surface.
Faster.
Super slippery surface. Super. Wow. I
All right,
messed up.
guys, do yourself a favor. If you've never seen it, you need to go to YouTube after this is done.
Don't leave.
Don't leave, but open another tab and look up buttery flaky crust.
Oh my God.
Buttery,
Amazing.
buttery flaky crust. You will laugh
Until you cry.
until you cry.
So good. Have you seen that, Livia? Oh my God, we gotta show her.
It is great. This is 2 older couples, or an elderly couple, and they have been selected to be in a commercial for some sort of pastry. And the husband is supposed to say something about it having a buttery, flaky crust. And this is a common thing in the world of film when you have to recite lines. They even have a name for it. I think it's something like line rut or something, where you don't know the lines, but because you've said the wrong line multiple times, you can't find yourself to say the right one. And he tries so hard to say buttery flaky crust, and he cannot
Baked
get
in a
it.
buttery flaky crust.
And is fabulous. And his wife gets so frustrated at him. And I don't want to tell you the rest so that you guys watch it, because it's really worth it.
It's amazing.
Is it real? It's not like
Yeah.
a skit.
No,
Yep.
it's real.
It was really happened. And it was just so funny they decided to put it on YouTube as like a blooper reel. And it's just amazing.
So good. I try and watch that at least every few months. Just
Yeah. Just to like make you happy. If you're having a bad day,
Yeah.
watch that.
I remember the first time I watched it, I literally cried tears because it was just so funny.
Yeah, they didn't know what kind of gold they had on them.
Mm-mm.
Amira says it's 1:18 a.m. now in Sri Lanka. Thank you for
Wow.
all the valuable information you provided.
You are awesome. What a rock star for getting up that early.
Or
Or
there's
staying
staying
up
up
that
that
late. I mean, that's kind of like one of those points at which that would almost be like getting up early for me, but for a lot more people out there, it'd probably be staying up that late.
Yep.
I'd never last.
Edward is asking, could you please elaborate on how you process the warm and cool color relationship in the drapery? For me, cool and warm is more difficult to comprehend than value, hue, and chroma. Thank you.
Cool and warm is such a subtle thing sometimes, especially with things like drapery and whites and neutrals. It's easier when you're doing it from life because you can see it better. You can see the warm-cool relationships happening, but it's much harder to do it from a photo. So here's the main thing that I tell people, is that if the form of the drapery is going away from the light and turning away from the light, that oftentimes if the drapery is already in nature warm, like the color is like a vanilla warm color, then it's going to get cool as it turns away from the light. But when there's folds of shadows where there's cast shadows happening and light is kind of going through the shadow, it's going to make the shadow feel more warm. So the closer the cast shadow is to the other piece of fabric, the more warm it's going to be. And the further away the cast shadow is, it's going to make it cooler. So this area here is going to be cooler because it's a cast shadow happening from this drapery over here. And then there's other areas where I don't even have this crease in yet right now, but this crease right here would be very warm because it's really close to this piece of drapery. That's one way to think about it. And the deeper the drapery, the cooler it'll get. Mm. So it's a challenging thing. And it's more of one of those things that you have to like train your eye to see and think about the relationship of different shadow colors and look at different colors and say, is one feel warmer than the other in life? And you'll get the hang of it from life, and then hopefully you'll be able to incorporate it more later in work if you're working from photo.
Jer says, I'm going to paint curtains that I draped in an interesting way. The backlight makes a cool effect. Do you think it's necessary to make the fabric fall into something?
No.
No.
No, we just kind of had that idea, but at first we wanted to like put something behind them, like we had the pumpkins or something, or like a pillow maybe, just so that way it creates more ripples. But there are no rules.
There are no rules. However you find it the most pleasing, you know, it's your piece. I do like the setup today, how there are a lot of ripples and bends, and they're on different levels and layers, so you can see a lot of different light effects.
Yeah. And that's what I'm getting excited about doing right now, is like trying to create more of the color light effects that are happening. I mean, we still got a long way to go to get the drapery looking like perfectly right. I mean, it's never going to look perfectly right, but to get it to feel the way I want it to feel. But considering the time, I want to make sure I try some of these effects too at the same time.
On that note, we are just about 2 hours in.
Wow.
You're like, what? That went by? That went by fast.
What? Where did it go? Are you sure you don't mean 20 minutes?
Yeah, are you sure?
Sargent, when he was painting often, and I say it a lot, but and just reiterate it while there's a moment of silence, is he would say there, he would hide the struggle. So he wouldn't get it perfect the right time, the first time. He would work it until he found the right relationships, and then he would scrape or soften, and then put in really beautiful single marks to capture the effect.
It's nice to know that you can get that freshness back when you're well into the painting, because looking at it, you assume that he just did it right the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
Harriet left a comment, I think, in response to Amira. FYI, YouTube Michael Klein, East Oak Studio, has information on how to prepare an ACM panel.
That's right.
More East Oaks content, you guys.
Yeah, for free on YouTube.
That's right. Free for everyone to use. Go look it up.
Yeah, when I was in college studying art, I got my subscription to East Oaks, where I would watch all the workshop videos, and they taught me how to paint through college.
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because like, I mean, obviously art school. I mean, I didn't go to an art school. I went to a state school in the art department, but they didn't really cover the technical side of painting. It was all like really theoretical and stuff. So yeah, my first workshop that I ever watched was Alex's, where he painted Divya.
Yeah, braiding her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was like,
I started watching that recently.
yeah, it's like amazing. I was just blown away. And then I recently started rewatching it with my new knowledge from being at East Oaks. And I'm like finally kind of understanding the vocab a little bit better. At first I was just like, yeah, okay, I think I get it. Like you did that and that. I don't really know why, but I believe you. And then now I'm rewatching it and I'm like, oh, that's why he did that. It's just so good. I gotta start watching it again this weekend.
I started watching Michael Klein's painting A Naturalist Still Life or something.
Oh, yes.
I'm really enjoying that one.
Love that one. That's with the bear? The
Yeah.
bear skin?
No, that.
The
Or yes,
bird?
bearskin with
Yeah.
the crocodile head.
Yes. Oh, love that one. Yeah.
Lots of good stuff on there.
Honestly, we could do a shameless plug right now. I'm going to do it for Louis. But it's only, what, like $27 a month for access for all of the videos. So you have like Alex's workshops, Michael's workshop, Jeff Hine did a workshop, Grace DeVito has one, which is really great.
Lewis has one.
Lewis has a couple.
I have one. I have a few. Yep.
And there's so many more that I can't even think of.
And I'm going to be putting up another one not too long from now, a self-portrait one.
Ooh.
Can't wait.
This is the time then.
Honestly, yeah. And we're working on getting more lectures up there, so I think now's a good time to subscribe.
Oh, yeah. And just always remember, folks, at this moment, that's the only way East Oaks stays alive, and is for the wonderful patrons who support us on that platform. And, we want to make as much free content for people who need it, because I was an artist once too that didn't have a whole lot of funds, and would have really appreciated a place that I could get some interesting content that was for free. But if you're at a place where you need more content but you can afford it, it's truly how we keep making free content and keep staying alive here at the studio. So consider it. And you're getting something for it. You're not just donating. You're getting what typically one video costs, by some artists, costs $200 and some odd. And you're getting like 40 videos for the same price for a year. So hopefully that we wanted to make it an incredible value. And I really stand by that. I think it is. I think it's a really great value for everyone.
Joyce says, I'm proud to be a patron.
Oh, we're honored to have you. Thank you.
And Edward says, thank you, Lewis. For the Discord, could we post our study from your past live streams and the courses at East Oak?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely can. The whole purpose of it is to create a community.
We have a whole other sub channel. So I think it's right above East Oaktober, is like share your work, and you can put anything you want there. And then all the East Oaktober things go to the East Oaktober channel. But please share.
He also says, I also subscribed to your monthly plan. It would be great to get some group critique.
Yep. We're going to, you say group critique?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be awesome. We're going to work on trying to create the community to be more involved with that kind of thing. And I will recontinue my critiques that I'll do monthly for everyone. I was working so hard to get this up for everybody. This was a lot of behind the scenes work to make this happen. And I had to stop my critiques that I would do for y'all for a couple of months to get this up and running, but they will be back. And it would be fun. It would be, maybe I'll have some of the girls come on with me and
I was gonna say that.
and play do it along with me.
That'd be nice. So we can have a little bit more of like a conversation about the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add that to the list.
Julie says, need to go now. Thank you for a great week of challenges and inspiration.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll see you next
being
week.
With you all again on Monday. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining. Have a fabulous weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like I just said fabulous.
Fabulous.
Have a fabulous weekend.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I am going to crash today. It's been worth it. Every bit of it's been worth it. But and I've got a lot of homework to do this weekend for everybody. But I'll be chilling a little bit more over the weekend. I could probably paint this for like 6 more hours
Oh, yeah. No,
for the
this is-
fun of it, you know?
Oh.
Okay, you're like, no, this is reasonable. Oh, for the fun of I don't know if I can agree with that part. Well, I will say sometimes I work so hard at East Oaks that I don't get to paint for like small seasons, and so that I could get things like this up and running. And then what happens is that like I think my mind is so starved from it that any amount of painting is like so much fun.
It's looking good. We need to get Lewis some more painting time.
Yeah.
Joyce says, it has been a great week. Thank you for the excellent sessions.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And for being an active commenter. We love to have the conversations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes me so happy.
I remember her from, I think, the first day. That's awesome that she stuck with us the whole time.
We have a great audience, man.
I know.
They're so supportive.
It was so nice to see some of them at Portrait Society.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll meet some more this year or next year.
Oh yeah, we definitely will.
You're going to be busy at that conference. You got 2 things going
Yeah.
on.
I'm doing a workshop for Portrait Society on that Thursday
Mm-hmm.
prior, and then after that, I'm doing a demonstration on the final day called Taming the Primaries, which is similar title to our challenge, and we'll be doing similar stuff, talking about how to just ride the bull of crazy color. And then I'm doing portfolio critiques. And what else? I think there's one more thing I'm doing. Oh, I'm doing the 6x9. Shh, I don't know if anyone's supposed to know that.
The what?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm doing the 6x9, and then I'm doing, I feel like there's one more thing I'm doing. I can't remember what it is, but that's plenty.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be go, go, go.
Right, go, go, go.
A lot to see though, for anybody going.
Mm-hmm. It's so cool. Like, I always tell everyone you should go if you can, because it is, pretty penny with travel and the conference and hotels and stuff. But if you have the ability, then you should go. And if you don't, then I'm also volunteering for them, which basically means that you get free tuition, but you do have to work to volunteer for half of the conference. So, but I think it'll be fun. So we'll see how it goes.
Joy says, I guess I'll see you at the Portraits Conference too, Lewis.
Yes.
Oh.
Would love it. Can't wait.
Online conference though.
Oh, well, I'll be there too. You
Uh-huh.
can see me online. Probably
Yes.
the only one that'll be broadcast online though is my final day, Taming the Primaries lecture. I don't know if they'll
Oh.
have my.
You're doing flying business class, aren't you? With Mary.
Oh, that's right, I
Mary
am.
White?
Yeah, I'm also on a board panel called Flying Business Class. Look at you, good job.
They released the schedule not too long ago, and I remember seeing that on there. Yeah, the schedule is public.
Sweet.
Tina's very on top of it all. We appreciate that.
Tina keeps me straight here. She's a rock star like that.
Joyce also comments, I especially love the folds on the top of the chairs in both paintings.
Thank you.
Thanks. That, I think, is my favorite part of the painting, or of the setup. Folds right there.
No, I think this is the stage where I actually am having like a lot of fun because things are starting to like make sense. Like they're starting to come together a bit.
You can really see the use of temperature in action. Got the warm and you got the cool.
Mm-hmm. The fun thing is down below, I'm gonna make just like a little crease mark so I know kind of where I'm gonna go with this, I think. Is it gets warmer as it gets on the chair seat. And that's kind of a lot of fun too. Oh wait, I'm putting that in the wrong spot. Wasn't paying attention.
I hate when that happens.
But you know what? I'll use the difficulty. You know why? Because it's good for the plot. So what's everyone doing this weekend? Anybody doing anything fun?
You're asking us and the audience?
I'm asking the entirety of everyone who is participating, which is the audience and you.
Well, on Saturdays, I work as a florist assistant at a flower shop. So that's what I'm going to do on Saturday.
And
I'm surrounded by flowers.
Oh,
that's pretty awesome.
get some good inspiration.
Yeah, and I think we may or may not have a wedding, but I saw that she posted, and it's called The Burrow, and the florist, her name is Madeline, but it's Mood Floriste on Instagram, and she has these lavender sweet peas in store, and I'm just so excited to make a bouquet with those.
I should drop by. I want to see what this place looks like.
Yeah, it's really cute. Yeah, it's in Durham, so it's not too far away. I don't know how far away it is from you, but it's a super cute shop.
She can come around the back side of the Beltline, I think, and get there pretty quick. So I could still think it'll be probably 30 minutes, but I don't think it'll be more than 40.
Driving's kind of fun anyways. I
Yeah.
enjoy that.
A joyride. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a Saturday. Not a lot of people are out. It'd be nice.
We have, let's see, Christy's saying hello from Louisiana. Thank you for doing
Oh.
this. I'm a big admirer of your work.
Oh, and thanks for joining, Christy.
We also have another comment. Hello, just now joining. I have another question about color strings. Do you
Okay.
pre-mix a string for every object/area of the painting?
No, I don't. In fact, only thing I mixed up was I mixed some titanium white with lead white, and then I made one little warm mixture, one little red mixture, and that's it. And then everything else is mixtures that I've made in the duration of this time.
Tina, did you do any pre-mixes?
I did. I've been changing the way I mix lately because when I do color studies, I tend not to pre-mix and I do it a little bit more intuitively, but I prefer to pre-mix when I'm working with larger paintings because I hate running out of paint. I find that really annoying to have to like continue to like remix the same color with my brush. So I'll usually pre-mix. In this case, I did, but I'm not sticking to my piles exclusively. I'm adding in other paint from other piles in smaller piles below the ones that I've pre-mixed. So kind of both.
I get the struggle of running out of paint. I gotta get over that hesitation of using a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I've struggled with that. That's why we have the challenge on a few days from now, which is impasto syndrome, and where we have to mix a lot of paint and put a whole lot of paint down on your canvas, because I had the same fear, Liv. Same exact fear.
I think it's like partly a frugal thing because you don't want to waste paint, but I also think it's a control thing.
It
'Cause
is.
You assume
Yeah.
that you can control it easier when you have less paint,
Yes.
but it's a lot harder.
Yep. Simply not the case.
We have Jonathan asking, what do you guys do to recover from painter's head after a long session of painting?
Painter's head.
Oh, that's good. I like that question.
Could we get a definition, please?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
assuming the painter's head is kind of like you've been painting so much, and you know, it's kind of like not writer's block, but it's like, you know, you're exhausted. Kind of like the brain scrambles I was talking about yesterday. I was having the brain scrambles yesterday because they were just, I was thinking, and you're trying to talk and do all the things at once, and I love it, but it can scramble your brain if you're not careful.
Definitely.
So you might want to clarify, but in case it's what I think it means, I would say that one of the things I do to kind of like clear my head is, number one, going for a walk, and I walk my dog Rosie, helps me. And if it's on the weekend and I just want to like a break from painting fully, my brother lives here, and we do a lot of quality time together. And one of the things that we do together is play disc golf. So I don't know if anyone else out there does it, but it is one of my favorite things to do. It's free because you just go to a park, you know, and you're only in it for a couple of discs that can cost, you know, $15 to $20 a disc. You know, you can go get 3 discs and go out there and play. And there's like 20 different parks that have disc golf courses. So it's a great way for you to get outside, clear your brain, try something new and interesting, and that's why I do it. It's fun. And I get to spend time with my brother, so it's accomplishing like lots of things.
Win-win.
Oh, yeah. And my dog loves it. It's like her favorite thing to do is go sniff trees while we're playing. And if anyone has been a part of East Oaks for very long, they know that my dog is my daughter. She is everything to me. Second to my wife. My wife is absolutely everything to me. But she's my number 2.
Number 1.5.
Yeah, number 1.5. That's it. And she's also the moral support in this group. She keeps everybody sane.
I swear it's like she knows sometimes. I swear she can tell who's having a bad day.
Yep.
She pays special attention to them.
Jonathan says, spot on with the definition.
Nice.
And then Amira asks, any thoughts on window shading? They mentioned being a fan of Scott Webdell.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody here do any window shading? Any other artists? What do you think about it?
So one of the things I train a lot of the people that are here, it's a way I assess where people are so I can know how I can help them, is I have them, it's sort of become a rite of passage to draw a skull here if you'd never done a form drawing. And when they do that form drawing, I teach in the format of window shading. So because it can be powerful for understanding how to make a three-dimensional object feel real. In this instance, I'm not doing window shading. I'm kind of doing more of a Sargenty style of mark making and plane orientation. But I actually think that if your goal is to make something feel illusionally three-dimensional, it's one of the more powerful ways of doing that. So I'm a believer in it, but I also don't believe it's the only way, or I'm not dogmatic about it.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to get there. What you think, Tina? How'd you go through that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really the only experience that I've had with that kind of method of form. I guess I wouldn't consider how I paint usually window shading, because I feel like it's a little bit more disorganized than that. Like when I imagine window shading, I imagine it going from like left to right, up and down the form, and I feel like I kind of jump around a little bit, but it's definitely a good tool to have, and I feel like if your brain likes that way of painting, then do it. Like if you're more of an analytical person who likes order, then that might be a nice way to kind of work with your painting. But it's not the only way.
No. Yeah, window shading basically is kind of the mentality of finishing as you go, or you are building out the form, you know, like you'd build a bridge across a river. It starts at one side and just arcs its way all the way over. But I find that I enjoy the spontaneity of mark making, and you can still do mark making and window shading. I mean, Ty Casey's a great example of that, you know, because he'll start from one side and he'll work his way over, but he has tons of like mark making and chunky parts of his painting. And there's a bajillion old masters that painted that way and had chunky paint, and some that would be very refined. And so there's a lot of room for for everybody in that field. But I enjoy getting like a lightest light, darkest dark, and playing around with that, because I feel like I like the energy it creates in my work a little bit more.
Yeah, and I feel like I should like the method of window shading because I'm a very like organized person, and I like order and having that mentality. But when it comes to painting, I feel like it's just like it just doesn't work for me as well.
I remember doing it in school at GCA, and I do think it's really good if you're learning to help you get to a high level of rendered, especially if you've never done that before. Because I think some people who are especially just new might want to take their piece further, but they don't know how to do it. And window shading is a good way to really force yourself to push even further with that. Because you have to kind of, at least at GCA, think really small, use tiny pencils, almost think about it as like pixels, getting every pixel the right shade. So if you want something really well rendered, really detailed, it's a good way to practice that.
Definitely.
It's great, well said. Trying to make the marks down here more fresh and fun, and more abbreviated, kind of like how Sargent would rough things out as they get further away from the focal point.
How are we on time?
Yeah, what's the time?
It is 4:26
Okay.
Eastern time. PM.
The fun thing about doing it as like single marks is you have to think about like what direction you should start to turn something in a certain way. And that's part of the fun, it's part of the challenge. Makes for a much more interesting painting.
Tina, what's your thought process in this part of the painting, the stage?
Well, since I have everything blacked in, what I'm trying to do now is make sure that it feels, they feel distinguished from each other, but still within the realm of believability. And when I was working on the painting that I did of me and Brian, my fiance, where I'm like holding his head, that sleeve was really difficult for me to do because of all the flowy fabric, and there wasn't really an indication of the anatomy underneath it. So Louis helped me a lot with that sleeve. But one of the things that he would say was to find a dark area in the light and make a mark there, and it'll kind of make everything else feel really bright. And I also applied that to my flowers because the trick to making them glow is to include like a dark nick, like I did kind of here, to make everything else around it feel bright. So I'm trying to find areas like that where I can include that while still keeping it feeling like cohesive and making sense. Because it's a lot of fabric, and that's hard to decipher sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm
Some
doing.
good thoughts.
Cuckoo.
But I mean, I'm getting there.
It's progressing well.
Thank you. I think this is the kind of painting that reads better from far away because, I mean, it's only 8 by 10, but there is just a lot going on up close. But when you step back, at least it starts to like, oh, I can kind of see it, I guess.
Louis, are you going to try to get any of the peach fabric in today very much?
We will see. I would prefer to make sure that I have this fabric realized and then make that decision. And with only 30 minutes left, probably not on film. But that doesn't mean I probably wouldn't try off film to finish it out.
Yeah,
And you can always post it on Discord
That's true.
so everyone can see it.
that's true. Another reason to join the Discord, everybody.
That's right. Don't be scared. Just do it.
I should get one of those like 10-foot brushes.
Yep.
Let's do it from back here.
We can tape a bunch of paintbrushes together to make you one. Or like tape a paintbrush on the end of a broomstick.
Yes, there you go.
There you go.
It's like
it.
how, as kids we'd make those marker swords.
Yeah.
You'd like stack markers on top. We should do that with brushes.
Oh, I remember doing
Wasn't
stacking
that
markers
fun?
on top. I just brought back a childhood memory that I haven't thought about in forever.
Yep, and then you
40
like
years.
hit your sibling with it and then it breaks.
Yep.
Snaps over their head.
Yeah.
The only stitches my siblings got was I gave my brother stitches from using one of those plastic swords. They were like gray and they were like hollow plastic. This could have been before your time, before video games. Before video games was a thing.
Back in my day.
Before
back in
the
the
light
good old days. And so I remember we were both on the bed and we both had one. And I got mine and I just went, Luke Skywalker! And, I went, "Whew," and it just sliced his lip right open.
Ooh.
And, an emergency trip later. And he had stitches and the whole thing.
What
was the
kind
experience.
of children's toy is that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
right?
They were probably outlawed after that.
Yeah. It's like, you ever play with lawn darts?
Yeah, no. And I think my parents probably outlawed it after Luke Skywalker situation.
Yeah, my dad, he grew up playing lawn darts, and it's basically like...
I'm aware of them.
Yeah, Olivia, do you know what they are? So they're like, it's like, you know how you play like horseshoe toss? Like you toss it and try to get it on the stick? Well, it's basically like these darts, like giant darts, and then there's like a ring on the ground, and you have to like toss the dart and try and get the dart onto the circle. But they're really sharp because they're meant to like stay in the ground. So they're basically outlawed. I think they're illegal.
Yeah, they're illegal. Yeah.
Because they're so dangerous. So
Yeah.
my dad was on a mission to try and find these lawn darts. So he went on eBay, and then of course I found the lawn darts. I bought the lawn darts, and he was so excited. And the package came, and it was just a sign that said the front cover of the lawn darts. It was just the sign. It wasn't actually the lawn darts. So we have that hanging in the garage. And then he eventually did find the lawn darts on eBay, and he bought them, and we would occasionally play them.
I mean,
Right.
they are an impaling
Yeah.
toy that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many emergency trips, it took to the hospital for them to realize, oh, you know what, this might not be the best
Maybe
toy.
we should.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the Grown Ups movie or something when they just shoot an arrow straight up into the sky
That's
and they're
kinda how it
supposed
was.
to stand there the longest. Same kind of thinking.
Yeah. They're like, well, throw it in the air out. Watch out. You better not get hit by it. Yeah. Maybe video games aren't so bad.
Yeah, maybe video games. Maybe we should reconsider video games.
Yeah. We're all doing just fine.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm always scared to be like, back in my day we had video games and all of these things, and look how I turned out. I'm always scared to say that because, maybe I'm just not self-aware enough of how bad I turned out.
I think you're just fine.
And I mean, look at me. Because I've heard people say that before, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at you.
My sister and I grew up playing the Simpsons game, but it was the Simpsons Hit and Run, which is basically where you're in charge of driving
Grand
multiple
Theft Auto
vehicles.
for Simpsons.
You're in charge of driving multiple vehicles to different destinations, and you're supposed to get there in a certain time. So you'd obviously run people over and drive through buildings. But the fun thing that I would do outside of the missions, I would drive around like a normal person. That was
isn't
my
this fun driving the speed limit?
I would stop at the stop sign. I'd look both ways.
Look at me, I'm following the rules.
And I think that says a lot about me.
Yes. Oh, it does, and it's what I love everything about you, Tina.
I thought it was so fun driving like a normal person. My sister would be like, "Why are you doing that? Go hit that person. Go run them over right now." I wouldn't.
That's really funny.
You know what would be more fun is trying to stay between the lines.
Yeah, that's what you should have said back.
Yeah. But then, you know, the NPCs, like the computer people, like the other cars on the road, they wouldn't follow the rules as well as I would, and that would annoy me.
You're like, guys, stay between the lines.
You just ran a red light. What are you doing?
Call the company to complain. This is not realistic.
Even though
That's
it kind of
pretty
is.
funny. Yeah, kind of is. You're right.
But that was my childhood.
Lewis is working on the table or chair arm.
The table.
Chair arm. The armchair.
There you
Just putting in a few marks for the fun of like adding something to it.
go. A little pizzazz.
Yeah, everybody needs a little pizzazz in their life.
Dina's working on the armchair too. Chair arm
Charm?
for short.
I just really love painting wood. I think it's a lot of fun.
Painting wood is fun. I would agree.
Painting metal is also fun.
Painting everything except for fabric is fun.
Yeah. Painting everything that I shouldn't be painting is fun.
So fun. And ever since I've been painting on the Artifacts lead alkyd ground, it's more absorbent and not so slippery. And coming back to this, it's like I can lift paint so easily. It's amazing.
You're like, I feel magical.
But my brush strokes don't stay as nicely as the lead alkyd ground does. So it's like, you know.
Let's see. What I want to keep in.
We got 20 minutes left. Anybody have any thoughts as you start to wrap it up?
Damage control.
Oh, Tina,
That's
but you
funny.
have those great colors. Love that peach.
Thank you. I think now it's just like, don't make it worse.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, just be cool, be cool,
Yeah.
be cool.
I'm definitely painting a lot looser than I normally do. Strange. But I am glad I'm doing this. As stressful as it may be, I'm learning.
Do you feel like your fears are being conquered?
In a way. In a way, my fears are also now 10 times more. But, you know.
This is just reestablished that I should be afraid.
Yeah.
See, everybody's going to be like, see?
Yeah. So in a way, I've conquered my fear, but am I still very afraid of it? Yes. But
One step closer.
yeah, I think there's no damage can come from trying something.
No.
You can only get better. It's not like you can get worse. Like if I had more time and maybe I had done this smaller, I might have been more happy with the result. But I don't think I'd change it.
I don't mean to pry, but what is it that you are not pleased with?
I think it's just too messy, and I'm not used to painting like this. So that could be why it just doesn't feel very organized to me. So if I had, because I'm usually a pretty tight painter, so if I had either more time or done this smaller, I would have been able to get tighter, which is my inclination, which might not be the best thing to do, to stick with what you're comfortable with. But I think that's the main thing. It's just like kind of loose and messy.
Did you
And-
do a drawing to begin with?
Yes, but it was like just the chair and like top of the chair and where the peach fabric starts. So it's very loose.
Well, I think it's looking nice.
Thanks. Thank you, Olivia. It's like that thing we were talking about. It's like you're blind to your own work. You're your own worst critic.
So now I'm just going to go in and even push the color more.
Unbelievable. Can't even look at you right now.
Like Mustafa. Jealous.
You're not invited anymore.
I hate you.
This is usually the point in my day where I'm like, what am I having for dinner?
Yeah.
Pizza sounds good.
Pizza does sound good. Friday pizza night?
Yeah, we're having pizza tonight.
That sounds good.
We always do pizza on Fridays. Pizza and tater tots.
That's awesome.
Pizza and tater
That
tots.
is
What a
Yeah.
food,
combination.
that's food for
Right?
kings right there.
Good way to end the week.
Paula says, I'm a tight painter too and understand how you might be feeling, but I think the looseness you achieved is really lovely.
Oh, thank you. Paula, you said?
Paula.
Thank
Paula
you,
Zeller.
Paula. That makes me feel
That is so
a
sweet.
lot better. Yeah. My knee just cracked. So sorry, everyone. Just getting old.
24,
Join the club.
24 years of living will do that to you.
Are you excited for Monday, Louie?
Monday is staging the model.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I love color study days. Those are fun.
It's gonna be me and you again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
So if you enjoyed the banter today, wait till next week.
We'll be rejuvenated from the weekend.
Yeah.
It'll be 10 times more.
It won't be the end of the week. We're all tired. We're like, is it Saturday yet?
We'll be ready to go. And I'm so excited. We don't know who's modeling yet. We're gonna have a live model, but the following week, my fiance is gonna model for us.
That's
And I'm
right.
So excited for that.
Whoop.
See
Good
how
old
that
Brian.
goes. Yeah.
It's a great face,
Great face, great hair.
great hair. Got the whole
The beard.
the whole package.
We haven't painted a beard in a while.
Yeah.
That's
That'll be
hard.
It seems hard, but
Hey, it hides features.
It's just like head hair, but on your chin.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to keep it smooth, or like the edges be soft, but still have that like coarse feel, because facial hair is like more coarser generally than the hair on your head. But I'm excited. That'll be on opposite day,
Oh.
which is where we're starting the painting with your opposite hand. So like I'm right-handed, so I'd be with my left hand, and then we have to fix it later with our dominant hand.
That'll be fun to watch.
It will be. I'm excited. See how that goes.
How are we doing on time?
We are at 10 minutes. 10 minutes till the end. It's all over. I like those marks that you've been making, Lewis.
Yeah?
Yeah?
I'll do them
Looks
again.
good.
I'll do them again.
You know, Alex and I would talk about this all the time, where when you first start like doing mark, well, I don't know if it's when you first, but when you get to a stage where you're working hard on a painting, but you make like this beautiful happy accident mark.
Mm-hmm.
And you get so like this huge dopamine hit. You're like, yeah, that was amazing, that you kind of want to try to do it again in the same spot, but then you ruin it, like because you like
Yep.
then started overworking it because you were so excited about it, and then you're like, I just ruined the thing. It's kind of like loving your puppy too much, and then like you squeeze them to death, you know.
Totally.
Or you know, you started dating that girl or guy, and like you just smothered them with like
Too much.
gifts too much, and they're like, I'm out of here.
Can relate.
Yeah, oh man, I can totally relate. I think I absolutely did that. It's like first few significant relationships where you learn a lot about what you should do in relationships, and one of them is not like to like come over with a movie every night and surprise them with like M&Ms every night, and you're all of a sudden they're like, yeah, okay, I get it, but I'm a little over it now.
Yeah. We need to see other people.
Yeah.
They call that with like when you want to squeeze your pet, it's called cute aggression. Like you get so, you just want to squeeze them. I do that to my cat all the time. I do it to Brian too.
Good.
Just
yeah.
you know, just
Yeah.
squeeze them.
Yeah, I get it.
so cute, I want to eat
It's
you kind of thing.
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah. I don't know why we do that, but
It's so fluffy, I'm gonna die. Yeah. So, a lot of people know what the love languages are, which are things like acts of service and giving gifts, physical touch, quality time. And I always say there's a sixth love language that they didn't put in there, which is wanting to bother the one you love.
oh my God. Yeah.
Like
And-
annoy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't not help it but bother Parisa, my wife, all the time. I'm just like, hey. And I'll just keep poking her until like she just can't handle it anymore. And she's like, stop. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I do the exact same thing. And I thought that was like everyone. I don't know if everyone does it, but I'm like, maybe it's having an older sibling because I'm the youngest and I would love to annoy my sister. And Brian is the oldest and he doesn't really do that. I just like, I want to bother you. It's in my blood.
It is absolutely in my blood. Also, everyone, and I'll announce this again, but we'll be doing like a bit of a studio sale, and with that, all of these pieces will be studio paintings that we'll have up for sale, and it'll be for the purpose of benefiting all of the artists here. And it'll be a holiday sale, so there'll be, there'll be affordable priced paintings on there, and all of these paintings will be up there. So you should absolutely check it out. We try to make these decently affordable. I try to do it to where I kind of make back some of the investments that I've put into making these films. Lots of subscription investments and and the girls helping support them, so that they have platforms to sell their work. And so consider looking into that later.
Yeah, that'll be so fun. I think it's a great time to start your art collection because a lot of people want to have a nice art collection to look at, even if you're a painter, and they may not know where to start, or some pieces might be out of their budget. So studio sales are a great way to kind of dip your toe into the world of art collecting.
Yep. And I collect paintings as well. I've got, we have here at East Oaks that we keep on display for everybody to learn from. We have one from Patrick Okaczynski. We have Chelsea Bard and Tyler Berry. We have Donald Journey painting, Michael Klein. We have multiple that we've bought over the years or have a part of East Oaks as part of our collection, and it's an easy way to get into supporting people you care about affordably.
Yeah.
So anyway, we deeply appreciate you and your patronage, and if you want to have an opportunity for affordable work, this is the opportunity for you.
And they make great gifts.
Oh, they make excellent Christmas gifts. Yep. wonder how much I can get in of this peach drapery in here.
You have 5 minutes.
Just like in, what's that show? The Millionaire, what's that? Where all the lights.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun, dun. Yeah,
all the
Who
lights.
Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
This is what do you call it? Painter's head?
Yeah.
Where
The
you can't like
scramblies.
formulate sentences anymore.
Yep. Just seeing if we can get enough in there to help everything kind of make sense together. Well, everyone, I hope that as we wrap up this last few minutes, I hope you have a fabulously wonderful weekend. This is your last opportunity to ask us questions before you do all your challenges over the weekend.
All your homework.
But all your homework. But jokes aside, I really hope that you'll have a very fabulous and blessed weekend. And that you come back rejuvenated and excited for the rest of these weeks, or rest of these challenges and journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't wait to see you. What time are you getting to?
It's 2 to 5.
Wow.
5. Wow, I said that just in time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you knew.
The countdown begins.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to keep probably like playing around with it, but I'll post it on Discord when we're done. And we truly appreciate you. We're looking forward to next week. Start sending us stuff on the weekend. If you didn't do one of the days and you just observed, use the weekend to try to do it and watch the video over again. And post on Discord. The link is in every description for every day. You can click on that link and it'll take you to an invite for our Discord. And we have a hashtag area called Oaktober. Go into that channel and drop what you're working on. There's other people that are dropping in. I saw several people commenting today.
Nice.
So looking forward to seeing you there. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you.